Hey guys, welcome back to a video here on Caleb's Coaching Corner, and today I want to be talking about something very big that I have a very big passion for, something that I think coming as a coach and coming from someone who has done 3 meets, and has prepped and has a lot of passion for the sport. I wanted to start doing this series now where I talk about powerlifting coaching, programming, tips and tricks, stuff like that. Got this idea kind of from watching a lot of Joey Flex, so I want to cover topics that he doesn't cover, and stuff like that. Maybe put my own opinion on it and stuff like that. And in general, I think that if you're not coached by me, but you want to hear tips and tricks from someone who like I have competed, so I know some things that some people who have never competed might not, and also it's a learning experience too, so as I make these videos, I get to learn more information as you guys get to watch. Maybe you guys learn something from it or not, so it's up to you guys. So today we're going to be talking about something I have a very big passion for, something that I think needs to be talked about more, and that's why I kind of started this off, because we're doing, the first episode. Kind of want to talk about something that I'm very passionate about, and I think that a lot of people need to follow, and that's called holding yourself to a high enough standard, especially in the sport of powerlifting. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, you know, you're holding what are the standards for powerlifting, because at the end of the day, we could be training as much as we want, in the gym. We could be just, getting stronger in the gym. But the big thing is that going to carry over to in a competition, You can be super strong in the gym and lift something in the gym, something crazy, but is that going to carry over into your meet day? So what I mean by that is, the standards of powerlifting, So for example, the squat. The squat, you want to make sure that your hip crease is below the top of the knee joint, that you're squatting to depth, throughout all your training sessions or most of your training sessions. For bench, during your primary days, biggest days ever, you should be pausing your bench presses. You can maybe do touch and go if it's like a secondary day or doing tempo bench press, but especially when it becomes closer to the competition, you should be pausing all of your bench presses. Making sure that your butt doesn't come off the bench, those kind of things. Same thing with deadlift. So when you deadlift, you want to make sure that you're locking out your back, your shoulders, your legs, your knees, etc. And these are the base standards for powerlifting. These are, things that we base our training on. We want to make sure that, again, every sport has a carryover. Your training should have a carryover to what you're going to be doing in a competitions. So you don't want to be, doing all of your bench presses touch and go, and you don't want to be squatting all your squats high leading up to a competition, because that's not going to benefit you on that competition day, and it's not going to be a good carryover on that competition day. So my biggest thing is, why are there so many people who don't follow the standard? Now, I say that as an exaggeration. There's not a whole lot of people that don't follow that standard, but I do see some people not following that standard. And a lot of people ask, why do these people not do that? And I think it's for a lot of reasons. I think it could be partly because of ego. I think a lot of people kind of just go in the gym and they lift something and they don't really care about someone else's opinion, which is perfectly fine. At the end of the day, they're going to be understanding that on meet day, that's going to be a problem, and if they don't address that in their training, you're not going to perform like you want to on meet day. And I think the other thing too is that it's just simply not having communication with other people around you. I think having a training partner is a really good thing to have, especially if you're lifting, especially if you're squatting, benching, or deadlifting with them. I think that if you have a training partner, you can hold yourself to a high enough standard where your training partner is reminding you to do certain cues. Again, like squatting to depth, pausing on your bench presses, locking out your deadlifts, those kind of things. Giving good cues that are going to benefit you during your training sessions. So those are kind of some other things. Those two things that I think are the reason why people don't hold themselves to a high enough standard is maybe because they don't have a training partner, and maybe they are lifting because of ego. And I think it's a really bad thing to not hold yourself to these standards, because you see a lot of lifters where they can again perform amazing in the gym. They're pulling over 700-pound deadlifts. They're pulling some great things. They're squatting really heavy weight. That again is super heavy. But when they go into competition, they get red light on their depth. That's one of the biggest ones I see. You get red light on your depth. Or, they don't lock out their deadlift, so they get red light on their deadlift or even their bench. And I think that's one of the biggest things is that, like, you know, you should hold yourself to a high enough standard so you can see progress. I, in my opinion, whenever I do competitions, whenever I do meets and those kind of things, I like to see steady progress. And the biggest thing is that powerlifting in general is a marathon, not a sprint. You want to take your time getting into the sport. You want to take your time building up your numbers. I think a lot of people do number chasing, and that's what gets in their ego, is that they're like, oh, I have to chase this number, to be good at this meet. When, if you squat 10 or 20 pounds more than you did last meet, that's an improvement. You're improving from last meet and you're showing signs of improvement. So why not take that as a win? And that's my biggest thing. I'm competing in August and I have minimum expectations for myself in the sense of, these are the numbers I want to hit, but these are realistic numbers that I want to hit. It kind of ties in with holding yourself to a high standard because I think a lot of people who don't hold themselves to a high standard have these huge numbers in mind, and then you can have these huge numbers in mind, but you have to put in the work to do so. You want to make sure that, again, all of your things, especially when you get into the meat and bones of prep, you want to make sure that when you're 12 weeks out, you want to be squatting to depth. You want to be doing it just like a competition, running those commands through your heads. Big variables like that are going to play a huge part in how you go into that meet. So, the big question is, what can you do to make it better? And I kind of just said most of it just there. I think what you can do to make it better is, first of all, make sure that you're consistent with your training. Make sure that you're going to the gym every day. Making sure you're trying your best. Making sure you're holding yourself to the high enough standard that you can do. I know a lot of people have bad days. I have bad days myself, and I think as a lifter, you're going to always have a bad day. There's going to always be a bad day during prep. You're always going to feel a little off, especially when you get into, 4 weeks and under. You're going to be highly fatigued. Those are going to be your last couple weeks of heavier, sub maximal loads. So at that point, you're going to be super fatigued, and some things might slip. But, throughout your prep, you want to just be consistent and make sure that, okay, like I need to hold myself to the standard of squatting to depth, pausing my bench presses, and locking out my deadlifts and doing it correctly because it's going to play a big part in how you perform on meet day. It's going to play a big part, and you're going to see improvement. And I think that's what the biggest thing is that there's so many powerlifters out there. There's so many people out there that do this sport, and I think that some people just don't hold themselves to a high enough standard. And I think at the end of the day, that when they go into a competition, they'll realize, oh shit, through training I was slacking, you know, and it doesn't, come for holding yourself to a high standard, not even with training per se, even about recovery, getting nutrition. Now, if you're someone who has, other stressful things in their life, I understand why you might not be able to control that kind of variable. But I see a lot of people who power through all those variables. I see a lot of people that during prep, including myself, I make sure that my macros and my food is on point. I make sure my sleep, I can get the most amount of sleep I can possible, and I make sure I can somewhat, control the variables of stress throughout my life. And I think that's what the biggest thing is because again, keep repeating it, I keep saying it over and over again, but at the end of the day, we go into the gym and we train, but we train for one specific purpose: is that we train to go into a meet and perform well. Same thing with football players, same thing with basketball players, is that they go into a game to perform well. So their training has that carry over to football. Those exercises that they're doing, those exercises that fire off fast twitch muscle fibers, that carries over into their training and into their games. Same thing with powerlifting, is that you want to perform these lifts and be as specific as possible to the lift as you can so that when you go into the meet, okay, I can squat this, I can bench this, I can deadlift this. So with that, that was a quick video to, talk about holding yourself to a high enough standard. I think it's just a good starter point to talk about, this kind of series and start it off. I think it's just a big thing. If you guys have any more like topics you guys want me to talk about, I have a few coming up that I have some videos to ideas to talk about. But if you guys have any more ideas or any questions or anything you guys want me to answer about programming, coaching, training, just different variables in general, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll answer them because I think that's a really big thing is providing this information out to you guys. I think as lifters, it's gotten a lot better. Especially with YouTube to provide information out, like a lot, you can get information fairly easily now. But having the information more of easy access towards individuals like you guys watching this video, I think is really good, especially coming from someone who originally coached themselves for a very long time. um, it's good to have this information, and I hope that this information and the videos I continue to produce will help you guys in your powerlifting journey. With that, you guys have a good day. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.